vaccine one.
Okay, we're recording. We might as well get started, right? So this
Hi,
is,
Monica.
Hi.
hey, Blair, we're going to be posting this under the platform Republican PAC, but I'll just give a disclaimer for the PAC. You know, we haven't voted on these bills. We're just talking to like-minded, freedom-loving, conservative patriots that have been watching the bills in the 2026 legislature. Blair and I are part of the platform Republican PAC. We're kind of hosting today. I'm the vice chair of it. We've got Monica Wilbur with us because Monica stays informed of the education bills. Otto Krauss is the chair of the Legislative Review Committee. That's what I'm going to call it for the Weber County GOP. And so we're just going to go over, these are the good bills. We're going to go over the good bills that we hope you will let your representatives, meaning your state senator and your state house member, that you can look up on le.utah.gov. You can look up the roster and find those people. Their phone number is going to be there. You can text them, call them, email them. Let them know if you approve of these bills we're going to go over. So I think we'll just start. You know, a lot of meetings we have with a prayer, but this is just a bill review. So be prayerful as we start. I'll just say that. And I'll kick off. Blair, can you allow me to screen share?
Absolutely.
Okay. Because that way I can show the good people the bills we're talking about as we talk about them. So
yep, give me just 1 second.
Thank you so much. And folks, while you're watching, we're going to try to keep this pithy, meaning, kind of short. We're going to give you a quick overview of each bill, maybe a little plus and minus, and then we'll do a separate video with the bad bills or the bills that need work, right? Maybe they're salvageable, or maybe they're just bad. But let me see if I can share yet. Oh, I can share. Great. So thank you, Blair. I appreciate your help here. Can you guys see my screen with the bill up there now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, Monica. So, did I introduce myself? I'm Bob McEntee with the Platform Republican PAC. I think I did, but just to make sure. That's my favorites. And one election integrity bill. Just my top three. So here's my top one, right? This is from Rep Tiara Auxier, and we're on the legislative website, le.utah.gov. This is House Bill 449, Utah Taxpayers Oversight of Government Spending Amendments. She likes to call it, the rep here, who is a tax accountant, by the way, so she knows her way around taxes. TABOR, short for the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. Because what it's going to do is basically put a soft cap on your property taxes. That's the headline. It would also require any increase in taxes to be that are above the CPI, meaning the consumer price inflation, to go to a vote of the people. And I'm going to highlight the right thing this time, a refund of excess revenue to taxpayers. We don't have that right now, right? Usually excess money goes to the rainy day fund, and then there never is a rainy day, right? It just builds, and it's nice to have some gold on hand that we do now, apparently. But I think we need it because I think the local entities need a little restraint on their exuberance of raising taxes, right? And they can still raise it by the CPI, and they can still raise it more if they really need the money, but it's going to be up to the voters to decide if they are going to approve that increase in taxes, which often they do, right? It's not a given that voters are going to vote down every tax increase. Some will, but they can be persuaded. And I like, as a Republican, putting the shoe on the other foot. Let's let government make the case why they need to raise our taxes above the CPI. And the consumer price index, I think for the last year, it was 2.8%. Because my water bill, they just sent me a note this month that it went up by the CPI 2.8%, right? So they're trying to constrain themselves to that 2.8%, which I appreciate. But the school districts and the county and city governments, they may not do the same. But this bill would try to rein that in and limit your tax increases. So this is why I would urge you to get a hold of your representative. And let me show you how to do that while we're on this page. So if you go to le.utah.gov, let me do that again live. You know what, I won't. But here's the legislators. You just click roster. Then it's going to want to know for the House. I went to the House. There's your district. You look for your whatever district you're in. If you're not sure, just click on one. It'll tell you what county or counties they're from. So this is Carrie Ann Lisenby. She's from Davis County, right? And there is a vote.utah.gov to help you find these. You can also look for just leadership, but it's important to know how to get a hold of the folks that represent you. And the Senate's the same way. You can find your senators the same way. Let me move on to the next bill. This will be the election integrity bill by Representative Lisa Shepard. The floor sponsor in the Senate is Senator Baldery. I kind of trust where both these two women are coming from. And what Lisa Shepard's trying to do here, by the way, let me back up for a second. That other bill, 449, Americans for Prosperity, supports that bill. They're kind of a big influential group in Utah. They support this bill too. What this bill does, signature verification revisions, that doesn't tell you much. But right now, you've all seen paid signature collectors, I'm going to guess. And there's a little bit of a built-in problem with that. They get paid by how many people sign, the petitions they carry around. So there's an incentive for those that would want money to just add people's names to that, right? And they probably walk around with an app that shows, hey, I'm going to knock on Blair Brandenburg's door now, right? Oh, Blair's not home. You know what? I'm just going to sign for Blair. I'm going to put his name and address, and I've got his voter ID. I'm going to put all that stuff down and sign for him. I just got $10, and I'm from Indiana, just working here in Utah, so who cares, right? And it's a bad incentive. It doesn't mean every signature's a forgery, right? But there's that potential. And so, for example, right now, if you sign for an initiative or referendum and you want to remove your signature, you can. If you sign for a candidate to get on the ballot, to go around the party, get their name on the ballot without going through the party convention, there's no way for you right now to get your name off of there. So this would allow the voter may request to have the voter's signature removed from the candidate nominating petition. So that means if you change your mind and like, hey, you know what? I don't want to sign for, candidate X to be the next senator or whatever. You can remove it. Or since it's also going to require that you be notified, because right now there's no requirement to notify you that, hey, your name showed up, for Senator X, to be the next senator. This would require notice that you're going to get an email or a text saying, hey, you signed for, Joe Blow to be the Republican candidate for Senate. Well, if you didn't, or if you change your mind, now you're going to have a time period to remove your signature. And it's going to make these public, right? So everybody can know. So if I don't see the notice, or maybe they don't have my email or phone number, Otto can tell me, hey, Bob, I saw that you signed for, Governor Cox to be our next senator. Did you really do that? And I'll say, yes or no, right? And if no, now I have a chance to know about this and to remove my signature. Because I will tell you, folks, I have never signed for any candidate ever, and I don't plan to, because I think they should go through convention. I guess we all have the right to, but I like sending them through the party vetting mechanism, which is convention, so that their loyalty is to the party and to the grassroots like you and me. That's my second bill. Like I said, myself and AFP agree. I think the Platform Republican PAC would be on board with this. Representative Shepard used to be a member of our PAC board, so we think kind of similar. And I think that this is just an anti-fraud bill at its heart, but it's also a sunshine bill, right? It's shedding daylight on who's signing these petitions, because right now there's withheld signatures, so you may never know who signed for somebody, and that's a little too much shadow. But I'm going to keep moving, and then Monica, we're going to go to you next, right? Because I think you're very prepared for this morning.
So, question on this, Bob.
Can
Sorry,
you say that again?
I thought Lisa tried to run this last year. Do you know what happened? Did it just run out of time, or?
I don't know, but it might have. This time it's going to House Government Ops. And I think, by the way, both of these sponsors told me they're making slight revisions, right? Because they get early feedback, like on the TABOR, the Taxpayer Bill of Rights by Rep Auxier. The fiscal note shows that it could cost like $157 per $500,000 household. So she is going to amend it so it doesn't cost that much. But remember, there's protection. So to me, it's kind of like you're paying insurance against higher tax hikes. And Rep Shepherd also has an amendment to her own bill, which this is common. They get feedback. They know they need votes. So they say, okay, I'll amend it. So it's still, the principle's still the same. We're just going to tweak it a little bit. So there is a tweak coming, Otto. I don't know the specifics on that, but both those bills I mentioned have a tweak. Now, this third one, leaving HB 27, is kind of the simplest, right? This one, I like it. This is, and it might just be me that likes this run. This is a pet one I like, but it's a tax bill. And what it's doing, because we all know when you live long enough, let's say you buy a new car, then you sell it to somebody. Like I sold the car we bought new, our 2015 Chevy Volt. Last year, we sold it to this young couple that had saved up cash, paid us the $8,500 for it. But we had paid taxes on it when we bought it, the sales tax, right? And this young couple, whatever we sold it to them for, whether it was 6, 8, 10, 12,000, they would have to pay sales tax again on that. And if they sold it, the next person would have to pay sales tax again, right? So the state's making out pretty good on all these used auto car sales when they got paid off, at the top value of the car when it was brand new on the lot. Well, this bill by Rep Thomas Peterson, and he's out of Cache County, it hasn't been sent to a committee yet, but House Bill 115 would stop the sales tax on motor vehicle sales once a vehicle's 10 years old. And I just like it, and legislator, my friends in the legislature, I think it would be smart to do something friendly to the taxpayers, right? I know you guys are very responsible. The first question a legislature usually has, a legislator, what's the fiscal note? Well, the fiscal note says it's going to be like $30 million. Okay. So they go, oh my gosh, how are we going to fill that $30 million hole? Well, that is what we call a static assessment, right? It just goes, hey, last year, we got this many sales of used cars, 10 years old or older. We made $30 million off it. But it's not a dynamic assessment. So let's look at my daughter. She's in college. Does she have a car down in college? No, she doesn't, right? Because she can barely afford food, right? But so for her, she's got no car. And she might, if she goes to grad school, she might still have no car. But if you guys do the people a solid and make it so these old vehicles don't get taxed, maybe that would help move the needle. So she buys, a 2008 Honda Accord, right, for $3,000, because I told her I'll help her fix it when it breaks, right? Well, you're going to get her into a car. She's going to start paying fuel tax. She's going to pay insurance, which goes to somebody in the state probably. She's going to pay the stupid emissions thing every 2 years, right, to get the emissions checked. Maybe it's not stupid, but we do have dirty air. I'll give you that. But all these things connected to owning and operating a car, including the tax on fuel, she's going to start paying that instead of not paying it and just being a pedestrian or getting rides off her friends or whatever. So that's where a more dynamic assessment would be. Maybe you're going to lose 10 million or nothing, right? But you're going to incentivize more vehicles because I got 3 vehicles sitting here that aren't registered, that aren't being driven. And if I get them fixed up and sold, then they're going to be back on the tax books, right? Nobody's registering these dead vehicles in my driveway. And people that know me can attest. I've got a graveyard of vehicles that could be fixed, but they're just not. So I'm someone sitting on a big heap of used autos. I also think it really would be good for the legislature to do something to show that they don't hate the taxpayer. And this would be one. It would help the lowest income people get into a vehicle. Just like if you got rid of the food tax, it would show people, oh, you do care about those that can barely afford food, right? I think that would be a smart move, because then when you come with your hot and heavy constitutional amendments that you really want, maybe the people will trust you, right? So that's kind of my plea to legislators. My plea to the people is you got to let these guys know what you like, because they don't know for sure. And let them know in committee. You can look up committees here on this le.utah.gov. You can see who's on the committee, and you can write them, right? You can email them, you can text them, whatever. Here's all the people. And you don't know who Ashley Matthews Democrat is, but you can click on that and it's going to go there. She's from Salt Lake County. Here's her phone number. You can text her, call her, or you can email her. So these people are just a step away. And let me tell you, if they get 5 or 10 emails or texts from people that aren't usually the ones bugging them, it will matter. So those are my 3 bills. I'm going to review them real quick. House Bill 449, that's the cap on taxes by Rep Auxier. House Bill 27 by Lisa Shepherd. You can see it there to notify people that they've signed a candidate petition and they can remove their name from one if they want to. It's anti-fraud. It's pro-election integrity. And House Bill 115, a solid for those that maybe aren't so moneyed as othered. So I will stop my screen share now. And Monica, I am going to hand it over to you, ma'am. Thanks for participating.
All right. Thanks, Bob. I like what you mentioned back there about the little guy. I feel like the best bills are those that fall on the side of the little guy, the ones that protect our constitutional rights, that protect the people, and that don't insulate the state against the people. I feel like those are the most important ones. And in education, the littlest people are the kids, right? And that's why my interest in education, that's where my big focus in education with Higher Ground, which is Natalie Klein's and my organization. That's where we're really focusing. Everything we do is aimed at protecting the kids and being able to get them to higher ground, to protect them from a whole bunch of like cultural wars that we're seeing right now play out in the schools. I think we all saw that this past week here, right? At the end of the week with the kids out there marching and leaving school and, saying all sorts of really nice vulgar things about ICE, about President Trump, about, everything. This type of activism is the type of activism that gets bred in the schools. And that's why this is what brings me to the bill that's really caught my eye. And this is HB 399 by Representative Trevor Lee. And it's the first substitute. So if you're looking it up, don't go to what's introduced, go to the first substitute, although they are very similar, but it looks like the first substitute really tightens things up. But I really like this bill. And the name of it is, I think, Prohibition Against Student Tracking and Grading Act. And so this is, to me, this is amazing. This is one of those bills that we don't see a whole lot. And the intent of it looks like, is to protect students against character tracking and grading systems. Now, what's that? You may ask, like, what does that even mean? Well, in schools right now, as I've seen play out in the past, 4 or 5 years, a lot of schools are implementing systems that grade kids on their subjective, social, emotional skills or competencies, as they like to call them. So instead of saying, okay, in math, you've got an A, or in English, you've got a B, or something like that, there are now actual transcripts and rubrics that give kids or measure kids on things like, are you compassionate enough? Are you empathetic enough? Do you show enough social responsibility? Do you have the correct academic mindset? So do you see how this could be like a big problem? That's not, if you ask me, that way oversteps the line for what schools should be doing in terms of kids. Like, we should be grading them on the objective things that are easily measured, that can be equally measured from kid to kid, or from school to school, etc. So his bill tries to stop that and to say, yeah, you're not supposed to be character grading kids. You're not supposed to be creating these social credit transcripts on them, essentially, for use, in any sort of database. You can't grow out these social emotional learning models that decide if a kid's socially responsible, I guess, according to what the school defines that as. I think it's a great bill. It's a very bold bill. I've had some disagreements with some of the bills that Trevor Lee has run in the past, but this one, oh my goodness, this one's a very good bill. So this is what our organization would call it, a bullseye bill, because it kind of takes aim at the right target in the right way, and it hits what it aims at, and it leaves as little room for error as possible. And I like that it has teeth. We get a lot of education bills that I think are very lofty. They're very aspirational. They are trying to accomplish something good. but then there's no teeth. And so it ends up being what we call a fox in the guarding the henhouse bill, where the very body, the very entity that it seeks to regulate is actually the one that ends up policing itself when it comes to the bill. And that doesn't make for a good bill. If you're policing yourself, you're probably not going to do that great of a job. So that's one of the ones that we really, really like. I know that might be surprising because we advertise our series, our initiative as, the bad bills, breaking down bad bills. That doesn't mean there aren't good bills, but I think they are rarer, especially in the area of education that we like to focus on. And then there's one more, if I can hit it really quickly. It's also by Representative Trevor Lee.
Monica, can I interrupt for once? Because, and you're fine to keep going. I just wanted to offer, if you want me to pull any of these bills up while you're talking so they can kind of see it while we're talking about it, I'm glad to. Just
if you wanted to pull up HB 399, it's the first substitute.
Okay. I looked at that one. The first substitute wasn't showing, but I'll pull it up here in a minute just to show the folks. In fact, let me share the screen so they can kind of see how to do this, right? So here's a little trick that I think we all know, but a lot of people might not. So let's say you just remembered. Are you seeing my screen with the website on it, the website there?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll go to let's just go to the homepage real quick, le.utah.gov. And let's say I don't remember the bill number 339 or 399, whatever it was, but I remember she said Trevor Lee was the sponsor, and I know that guy, right? So I go, oh, Trevor Lee. Let me move this bar. Sorry, technical. Okay, so I hover on bills. I click 2026 bills because that's what we're talking about. I can pop it open here and look up bill whatever it was. Or if I don't remember the number, I can look up here. Let me show people again. I did that kind of quick. I can click more 2026 general session information. So I click that. Then I click bill request sponsor. I'm really after the sponsor here. So I'm going to click who's the sponsor. It's going to give me a drop down. Senators first, of course, right? And then we're going to look for Lee because it was Trevor Lee's bill you were talking about. So here's all the bills that Trevor Lee's running. And I think it was $3.99. And she said it was substitute 1, right? But I think she's got inside info or it just hasn't been posted yet. Because
it is there. It's actually on the website. No, I don't.
Oh.
Yeah, it is
there.
there.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Yeah.
Other versions. Okay, you're right. It's there.
Yeah.
It's not a secret
organization. I think it came out a couple of days ago.
Okay. A lot of times they will post the most recent one there, but okay, so here's sub 1. So go ahead, Monica. If there's anything else you want to say about this one, it's the primary and secondary education. I'll get out of your hair. Thanks.
Well, if you'll click on sub 1 or the PDF for it, I think it'll bring it up.
Okay.
So if you'll go down, that's the one I know it looks like it's titled primary and secondary education. That's what it was. Okay. But now it looks like it's got a more descriptive title. That's one thing that you notice this year. It's just like these very kind of milquetoast names being given to so many. It's like public school amendments, something in school. It's just a lot of them are very non-descriptive, and I like that this one has it's got a stronger title there that tells you exactly what it does. That helps a lot. I feel like that's transparency, and that's good. So and this is what again, the thing I like about this bill is that it protects the little ones. Too often, we get into, like I said, these like cultural battles, these cultural wars, where the school's trying to define the kids' values and tell them these are the values that you need to focus on. The parents have their own values. The kids go to school and they experience this kind of like, okay, whiplash, right? Like, okay, the school's telling me that this is what compassion means, but my family's telling me that this is what it means. And so, but if I don't do the school's version of compassion, I could get a bad grade or I could get in trouble at the school. And that's the problem, is kids just need to be kids. Let's make it simple. Kids are very concrete thinkers. If you just model for them the type of behavior you want, like 9 times out of 10, you're going to get something good. And if you set very clear expectations for behavior. But when we start to make teachers like psychoanalysts and armchair psychiatrists in the schools, where they're delving into the kids' thoughts and their feelings and their emotions, and they're always taking their emotional temperature. That's a problem. And we have seen that be a problem in schools where kids become like more self-centered, more focused on their emotions, and academics fall by the wayside. And that's not what schools are for. Schools aren't to sit there and like, kind of force the state's version of morality on them. I believe that firmly belongs in the home with the churches, not at school.
Thanks, Monica. And I think I interrupted you. You were going to tell us about another bill.
That's just very quickly, HB 183, Trevor Lee again, something very bold here, what I would call like super conservative, and it's called sex designation amendments. And I like that one a lot because it goes through like all of state code, it looks like, and is removing the gender identity designations that are in state code. So right now, we all know, if you're grounded in reality, there are two sexes, right? You got male and you got female, and that's it. And but over time, we've had legislators who've insinuated this idea that gender identity is a real thing and that it should affect policy and how we look at it. And really, we just need to draw those clear boundaries of male and female, and then apply them to the legal context or the policy context in which they are featured. Like, for instance, you got like the bathroom bill, and other bills that talk about gender identity. Well, schools should be treating kids based on, okay, what's your biology? Let's take care of that. If you have a fear of bullying, for whatever reason, it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter if it's gender identity or some other factor. Let's address that on the fact. Let's start at the baseline that you are either male or female and go from there. And so it's a good bill. It's a good bill, but boy, it goes through lots of pieces of code. But that just tells you how much gender identity has been just like ingrained into policy, and that's not a good thing, because once you acknowledge it as something that's more important than any other, like how many disorders are listed in like the DSM, gender identity being one of like probably 500-600, but for whatever reason, that one's more special than agoraphobia or anything else. We don't have special code for agoraphobics, right? But we have it for gender identity, which just, again, speaks to the culture wars we're in right now. So good job for Representative Trevor Lee on those two bills. Strong, conservative, very protective, and I like that.
Okay, thanks, Monica. I appreciate your three good bills there. I know it's hard to choose, actually. And we got Blair and Otto. Otto, you and I were just last night together reviewing bills, so I'm going to guess you're kind of warmed up on this. So if you're ready to go with the top two or three bills you've got, I'm ready to let you have the floor here, sir.
Yeah, sorry. I wasn't sure what the expectations were, so I just sent Blair my top 10 in both good and bad. So you have to narrow that down a little bit.
Well, if you want to just go through whatever you want to do with 4 or 5 minutes, go ahead.
Okay. I mean, one that I've been really following is the blood transfusion amendments, and that's HB 156 by Rep Chevrier. And I know she ran this bill last year, and it was almost unanimous in both houses, but on the last day of the session, it just ran out of time, or it wasn't put up in high enough a priority. So um, maybe you guys have already seen it. Let me see. I can bring it up real quick. I'll share my screen. Okay. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yes, I see it, Otto.
Okay, super. It's a really brief bill. I mean, I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but it basically allows you as the individual that's getting an operation or a transfusion to say to the clinic or the hospital, hey, I would like to use my blood or my friend's blood or my wife's blood because we have the same blood type and not necessarily some random packet vial that's been sitting on the shelf for the last 5 months. Um, until I saw this bill, I didn't even know this was a thing. I just thought that you had that choice all along. And I find it interesting that the second part of this bill is that it provides immunity to the healthcare provider for letting you use your own blood. I'm like, this is the biggest upside down thing in the world where you are not allowed to use your own blood for an upcoming operation. So anyway, real simple bill. I Some people did speak against it in the committee hearing last year, which surprised me. Um, anyway,
Hey,
it's going.
Otto, could you touch on the status of that one? Has it made it through committee yet?
Um, see here.
Sorry to slow you down, but I just kind of, oh, yes. Okay. It's made it through a
It
House
looks
vote, it
like
looks like.
yep.
Okay,
It's
good.
Senate.
So it's over to the Senate. So this one you need to tell the senators about.
Yeah, and interesting, there's actually 7 people voted against it. Well, I guess no surprises there. But okay, next one that I'm really following. Oh, it's this one, I believe, is Sex Characteristic Change Treatment Amendments, HB 174. If you haven't seen that one, it's basically saying that you can no longer give puberty blockers and all these hormones that they've been administering to minors um, after a certain date. And I think they have January 28, 2027. I don't know why they have to wait that long. Like, that's pretty much a year away. Why can't they just do it like April or May, like all the other bills this session? But once again, another simple bill. I think we need to stop the madness that's going on in our state and the rest of our country where we're modifying our kids who are too young to even drive or to drink, but it's okay to change your sex and cut off your penis and your breasts. Like the madness, if you can't see this on its face, I don't know, this world is lost. Um, anyway, the fact that we have to put this into law is another boggles my mind kind of bill. So HB 174.
Can I say something? I'm
Oh,
just gonna say hormones don't just affect your sex characteristics. They affect a whole slew of things in your body, and we can't even begin to know the bad effects that are gonna come from it. Like your bone development, your brain development, like all of it. It's not good.
yeah. Sorry, my wife's listening in. She's taken an interest in these bills as well. Um, okay, and then the third, not necessarily last, but HB 260. This one came on recently, and Nancy brought this to my attention, but this one does have me worried. The unauthorized practice of law amendments. Um, and after talking to some people in various groups, I think I understand who the targets are here, but it's important for the rest of us who are not necessarily paralegals or lawyers or well versed in the law. But prior to 1978, maybe everyone knows this, but there was no bar in the state of Utah. So, as you guys may know, the bar is who accredits lawyers and attorneys in this state, just like every other state has a bar association, derived from the British Accreditation Registry. Um, But the thing is, prior to 1978, there were lawyers, there were attorneys, and there were normal citizens who practiced law and who gave counsel to people that went to the courtroom. So what this bill does is it tries to create a monopoly, or I just say restrict the ability to consult um, in a courtroom to licensed bar attorneys. And I've got nothing against attorneys. I think it's fine. They go through a lot of schooling, they get their license, but they should not be the only ones that are able to give consultation in a court of law on cases. In fact, if you go to the Constitution, the Sixth Amendment specifically states um, uh, that you are able to get counsel, general counsel, when you are in a court of law and you have to, um, it doesn't say represent yourself, it just says when you are at trial. So it doesn't say that you have to be a licensed attorney to do that. So I see this bill as an erosion of that right. And anyway, it's not very long, but I believe we kind of need to stop this one as well. And unfortunately, it did sail through committee. Um, there were a few people in the House that voted against it. Um, so anyway, we need to contact our senators for this one. Um, anyway, that's my that's my three.
Yeah,
Otto, that's a great one. That last one it's an awful bill. That one really is just, I'm glad you brought that one up. That one is very concerning.
I agree because I feel like during COVID, a big part of the reason why it finally came to a halt is because everyday average ordinary citizens finally started suing and like writing affidavits and like, but if they make it
Yeah.
so that like, oh, you have to have legal counsel or a licensed attorney in order to do that, like that's going to prohibit a lot of people and it's expensive, but like anybody can file a lawsuit and it doesn't cost you a whole bunch of money. And I think it scared them. And so if we're not able to do that anymore, I think it handcuffs us and
It just
anyway,
makes it that much harder.
right. Like you should always be able to redirect, address
Yeah.
your
That's what we would call a picks on the little guy bill. It absolutely just puts the heavy hand of the state right squarely on the back of your average citizen who, it's not like you're doing surgery on people, right? If
and
somebody
you're
wants,
representing yourself.
yeah,
Right.
you're representing yourself, or maybe you're helping out a friend, and you may understand that part of the law. The area of the law is huge. There's lots of different activities that could be considered, legally oriented that would fall underneath this bill. It's just, it's a bad bill. It's a really bad bill.
It is.
This is Blair. I wasn't even aware of it, but thank you, Otto, because what this really ties to me is what your wife just mentioned, is it ties back to the AMA and how the AMA was essentially the enforcer for the COVID scenario that we went through for 3 to 4 years and somewhat continues today. So if you allow an organization with that much control, they shouldn't look at the COVID example is kind of a canary in the coal mine.
Yeah.
So I think Otto, can you pull up who actually voted for to implement that? Because I think everybody needs to call these people.
I think it's Low Bay. Yeah, Anthony Low Bay.
I think Lubay is probably a lawyer, right? So he may look at this different than you and I do. And same with Brady Brammer. I think he's a lawyer as well.
I knew Bramer was. I wasn't sure who he is.
I'm not sure Lubay either. Pardon.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, but really at the end of the day, like who would it really hurt? Like if I were to represent myself, like, are they really concerned about the little guy or are they really concerned about themselves? I feel like licenses in general are, I mean, in theory, they're good, but I think they just end up being kind of a racket, like in creating monopolies and stuff and more.
Yeah. Because, well, when you represent yourself, they kind of treat you like they're the union and you're a scab, right? It's kind of I think it kind of hurts you to begin with, unfortunately.
Well, I don't know about that because, like, I don't know. There's a whole thing about common law and other stuff, but like, you maintain your rights as like under the Constitution if you know what you're doing and can kind of represent yourself. But like, just by having a lawyer, you kind of waive a lot of rights and stuff.
You do.
Just
And they won't always fight as hard as you would for yourself. I mean, there's pluses and minuses. I'm just saying how
Right.
the courts view it, right? Because I've watched
Yeah.
lawyers tell clients, "Are you sure you want to represent yourself? Because basically I'm biased against you, right? You're an idiot, right?" Sometimes people win. However, this is way too much fun. We're the policy wonks, all of us here. We could go on for hours, but I'm trying to keep this short so people might actually watch it. Although, you know what, Otto, your legislative bill tracker was kind of valuable. Could you click on that real quick? I just want to there's one we didn't talk about. I'm just going to mention it. Can you scroll down to House Bill 287? Immigrant driver privilege cards, right? There's one that's probably not on a lot of people's radars, and the reason why there's all these green check marks here on the right, us voting for it, is because we know that this could be used to let illegal aliens or just non-citizens vote in our elections. But I don't want to start a whole new thing. It's time for Blair to, if he has a priority bill or two, Blair, you're welcome to, and do us a favor, Blair, either show us your bedhead for being in California an hour earlier, or show us the bill, one or the other, whatever you want to do. And I'm going to hand it over to you, Blair, if you're done, Otto.
Okay. Well, I apologize because I do have bedhead, and and I am not prepared for the meeting, so I can't agree more with the commentary. So I'll leave it at that.
We appreciate that input, Blair. And I guess I'll give a 1-minute wrap. If anybody wants to give other attacks, reattacks rather, sorry, that's what we call it in the military. If you want to reemphasize anything important, I guess now's the time. Otherwise, we'll just short and sweet and call it a day and go to bad bills in a minute. Monica, did you have something?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm excited for the bad bills part. That's my favorite.
Okay. Well, good. Because, I struggle on those. I got a couple, but I've got two bad ones and one that needs work. So maybe that'll tease people into watching the bad bills video. Mr. Host Blair, if you could just stop the recording on this one and let it do whatever it has to so we can start the next one in a minute or two.
Hey, Bob, what was your third?
Okay, stand by.
Sorry.
Okay, that's okay.
He didn't hear you.
I'll tell you my three.